During this past summer, when I made a video covering the meaning and secrets of unedited footage of a bear, an Adult Swim horror short film, I said that I had major hope that the team behind it, Wham City Comedy, would get to create more beautifully terrifying things for the channel. I desperately wanted Adult Swim to support more projects like unedited footage and Too Many Cooks, and I really wanted Wham City to make more. Maybe they could even top unedited footage of a bear. Well, I got my wish, because they outdid themselves by making This House Has People in It. If unedited footage of a bear was just a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle, This House Has People in It is a 1,500-piece monster. As far as investigations go, this is one of the most complex puzzles I've looked at so far, and even though I've spent 5 days with a headache trying to decipher its message, I absolutely love this abstract surveillance camera horror show. The story of this latest visual art performance and 4 AM heart attack began last week, early Tuesday morning. Those who know Alan Resnick's work were alerted to the coming short film's arrival and stayed up on Monday night to catch it on the premiere date. This House Has People in It was scheduled to run from the 14th to the 17th of March at 4 AM, but don't worry if you missed it. Adult Swim put it up for view on their own channel so everyone can take a look, and just like with unedited footage, I implore you to go watch the short film on the official channel before we dig into this. If you enjoy it, go ahead and hit the like button as well to show your support for more projects like this from Adult Swim. The more love we show for these events, the more likely we'll be to see more and ensure the creators of these projects keep getting work. Really, take a moment to click on the title card here or on my link to the film in the video description. If neither of those work, just search for This House Has People in It here on YouTube and click on the result that has Adult Swim as the uploader. Once you see it, come back here and we'll explore just how big this house really is. Don't watch my video without seeing the real deal first. I'll give you a few seconds. Alright, now that you're thoroughly disturbed or had time to remember how you felt at the end of the film, let's begin breaking this down. At the beginning of the film, we have login information activating a database system that runs down a very long list of entries and activity descriptions, all having to do with a group of numbered subjects. The user is required to enter a log number, which they submit, 00451. This presents the title card for our short film as well as information on what we're seeing. This footage was taken on the 31st of May, 2015. This is focusing on family number 437 and is tape 451. This video log notes the significant event of subject 3 lying prone in the kitchen floor. Notice the wording there, in kitchen floor. The watermark logo in the bottom left is a symbol we spot again during the end credits, AB for AB Surveillance Solutions. While playing the credits for the short film, AB advertises their website, absurveillancesolutions.com. There's a very obvious next step to this experience, but in order to get the most out of it, we do need to explore the video. Our establishing shot is of the first page of selected surveillance cameras inside the home. We have shots of the living room, kitchen, hallway, basement, and front yard. We know exactly what happens over the next 10 minutes from each of these positions as the main events play out. We just don't know how or why. The most appropriate phrase to keep in mind while watching this video is blink and you'll miss it, because the amount of hidden information from this video is insane. In the first full clip of Jackson, the son, in the living room waiting for his party to begin, we can spot 3 things. First, Alan Resnick, who co-wrote this project and unedited footage of a bear and created Alan Tutorial, is on TV, portraying a new character instructing viewers on how to make their own clay sculptures. The older woman watching seems to be an active viewer of his show. There are some homemade clay sculptures sitting in front of the fireplace. Finally, that happy birthday banner must have been purchased at a discount because the letter R is missing from birthday. When we return to the kitchen, our mother and wife character, Anne, is holding the baby just far enough to the right for us to see the pictures on the standing shelf in the hallway. If the picture on the right looks familiar to you, that's because it originally appeared in unedited footage of a bear on the wall of Donna's house. And it is the same boy portraying Jackson according to the credits of both short films. His name actually is Jackson. We have another nod to unedited footage of a bear later when the camera zooms in on a shelf in the living room. Right next to this picture of Tom and Jackson, we can see what looks like a Claridril bottle and an open box. Don't get too excited though. According to Alan Resnick, Robbie Ratcliffe, and Dina Kelberman, who all wrote This House Has People in It, the links to unedited footage are more Easter eggs than anything else. In an interview conducted by Sean Collins for Observer.com, the crew is asked, I've noticed that in fan reaction to work like this, there's an emphasis on figuring it out. Here's exactly how everything connects, here's what everything means. People are even working to connect this house and unedited footage in some kind of mega arc. To be fair, I thought I spotted one of the defaced photos of the little boy from unedited footage on the shelf in this house, so I get the impulse. But is that important to you? Do you even do that kind of world building up front? As part of Dina Kelberman's answer, she says, "We didn't necessarily intend for this to be in the same universe as unedited footage of a bear, but it totally could be. We ended up each putting in so many little details that I don't think any of us know about all of them. We try as hard as we can to make sure everything fits together, but sometimes there's small errors, and those just end up getting scooped into the theories. And then of course there are theories we never even considered, which is great. Often they're really good ideas. This is my favorite part of everything." It's also just practical to use photos of the same young actor if you already have them, and a good way to wink at the audience if they don't know the authors of this house also made unedited footage. I do want you to bear in mind how intentional these Easter eggs are though. These don't mean Jackson is the son from unedited footage, but the art form of that film will apply in our investigation. Our next interesting shot comes from looking at Madison head-on while she lays on the floor. Did you notice that she has some sort of white or gray material clinging to the tips of her hair? It seems like this isn't the only case of someone having it on their body, as we later spot the baby playing with an upside-down bowl in her high chair. The same material seems to be on her hands, and even though it's normal for children to have dirty hands in a high chair, she doesn't seem to have any actual food within reach to spread around. The bowl appears to be empty, nothing spread around it or underneath it as the baby moves it around. This also transitions directly into a clip of Alan's character on TV molding a clay pile that looks like an upside-down bowl. Next, we spot Jackson on the couch with a tablet computer, and he misses a deer walking outside the window. That deer seems to be scared by a spiky-headed shape that runs past in the same direction. Now's the time when the phrase "blink and you'll miss it" really comes into play as our surveillance cameras are interrupted. Our next few frames are grainy black and white shots of what appear to be a gangly-looking person rising out of a cluttered room. We're then shown a quick roll of frames where this thing is slowly coming up from where it's hiding, which turns into footage of the backyard, where the character from the window seems to be running by. Looks like a blue costume. Madison begins to sink into the floor a few seconds later, and we get another quick shot of the backyard where the camera seems to be searching for whoever ran by. Finally, a really serious case of blink and you'll miss it occurs. Just 3 frames of the back corner of the yard, where it seems 2 men are stepping out from behind some trees. But you only see one man, right? Look closely. The movement is so subtle, it only lasts for 2 frames. I'll play them back to back for you a few times. Ignore the glitch spots here and here. These appear to be camera malfunction. What's even more fascinating about this movement is that whoever's stepping out of the trees seem to be wearing different shoes. This man, who looks like Tom, has on a white or tan shoe, but this foot? This is black. Back in the house, Madison begins to sink fast enough for Tom and Anne to notice, and their screaming brings the repairman upstairs. We see the camera tilt upward after he leaves, catching sight of a foreign word written on the pipe. Warnemen, followed by the visual of Madison's face coming through the floorboards. A quick search for the meaning of Warnemen online yields results for the word Warneming, which seems to be both a Dutch and Afrikaans word that means observance, perception, or surveillance. Looking back at the image of the word, it seems the missing G actually was written there, judging from this black spot on the side. The camera may have just cut it off. When the repairman, Dennis, comes into the kitchen, we catch another really prominent word on the side of the fridge: bed sheets. After Dennis comes back to say he's got something to help, Anne gets up to follow him, and we switch over to Jackson in the living room. And again, for just 2 frames, we catch something really bizarre. It appears to be a woman outside of the window moving in lockstep with Jackson. From the look of her hair, this appears to be Madison, but the fleshy spot on the left that seems like it should be a face is so distorted and extended, you can't even be sure this is a complete person. If this is a face, it's not where it should be. Not to mention, this person appears to be moving towards the window with their torso facing us, which means this is their right hand, but it looks backwards. If this was the right hand, the thumb would be on the right side, not the left. This image is even more perplexing than the man coming out behind the trees. Next, we have a shot of the basement where we can see someone has drawn on the washing machine. The words written down are "sad day" and a frowning face even lower. After another glimpse of the partygoers outside, we see our spiky-headed blue friend running around the house from the side of the front yard for just a few frames. After Tom passes the baby to Grandma, we catch another flash of what's coming out of the room with all the tools and extra supplies. A bald, gangly-looking horror with a hanging jaw. Tom joins Anne downstairs to watch Madison slowly phase through the floor, and we catch a black and white shot of Madison herself standing in Anne's place, looking up at the ceiling where her body is. Our next quick frame moment comes after Tom's panicking pushes Anne back into the dryer, knocking over the box next to it. We catch 3 frames of the front yard at night, the first of which has high blue saturation with the other 2 being normal in their colors. Through all 3, you can see what looks like someone standing on the sidewalk in front of the yard. Just after this, more quick shot frames, this time of a child's drawings depicting a blue character named Boom Cat. While smoke fills the house from something burning in the oven, a single frame interrupts the clay sculpting show that presents a different angle of the TV in that corner on the TV. We're seeing a picture within a picture here, but it's not possible to tell what the picture on the TV, in the TV, actually is. Downstairs, Tom continues his monologue, and as he walks past the corner with a roll of black wire fencing, 2 hands appear from the side. Judging from the layout of the basement from all other angles we've seen, this is not possible. There's no room for someone to hide there, so now we're seeing phantom hands coming from a space in the wall. Anne runs upstairs to get the repairman, calling him Dennis, which we can hear and also confirm from the closed captioning on the original video. They go and pick up Jackson's mattress from his bed, revealing that there's quite a lot of stuff hidden underneath, similar to the way he's been hiding things in the corner space. It's tough to determine exactly what's inside here, but this figure kind of looks like Jackson himself, who hasn't been here since hiding his party favors. It's also worth noting that Jackson's mattress has no bed sheets, and it's been that way since early on in the video. We shoot back to Tom with his basement monologue to no one, and then catch an overlay frame of the spot with whatever is coming out of the garage, shed, or some other room, this time standing upright and showing what looks like a pair of breasts. This person actually seems to be female. After the baby escapes into the woods, we catch another shot of this person, this time wearing some type of gown. In the flurry of activity that comes when Madison finally falls through the floor, we do see her land on the mattress, and another frame comes through after showing she has safely landed. She lays prone on the mattress while we have an overlay of the fence in the backyard. Specifically, this looks like an image of the diamond-shaped fence piece we're shown as the baby escapes. But then we get a quick shot of the mattress laying on the floor, empty, while Anne screams. This is followed by Anne and Tom screaming, then the party guests all face down in the yard, and of course, end credits. Except for one final frame at the end of those credits. Did you want to get a closer look at the thing that was crawling out of the room with all the spare items? Are you sure? Here, have a look. This was the final frame hidden at the end of the video. One shot of this horrible pink person with its jaw hanging open wearing a child's bedsheet. And as for those odd numbers on the final end credits frame telling us to go to the website again, well, the upper left has coordinates that lead to Paris, France, Rome, Italy, Harar, Zimbabwe, Lusaka, Zambia, and finally, Algeria. What does that have to do with anything? The key is in the model number and parts number. They're numerical codes for cheese and pepperoni. If you take the results of Paris, Italy, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Algeria, and take the first letters, you get pizza. Why pizza? You're going to find out soon enough. Heading over to absurveillancesolutions.com does bring you to the website associated with the company. Not a real company, of course. AB Surveillance Solutions is just a parody of the real company that created this project run by Wham City, AB Video Solutions, who also produced unedited footage of a bear. At the surveillance site, you'll see login forms asking for a username and password. Directly below that is a link asking if you've forgotten your password. Clicking this link opens up an immediate desktop email client that sends something immediately to noreply@absurveillancesolutions.com. The subject would be forgot password with an email message of please send username and password info for this user. The website's coding will automatically send back a reply giving us what we need. Hello user 00437, the password associated with this account is bedsheets. Just like we saw in the video on the side of the fridge, bedsheets. Now, heading back to AB Surveillance Solutions, we can use the credentials to gain access to the very same system we saw in the opening of the short film. Press 1 and hit enter to open up the entire log of videos. From here, you can access a video recording of every single log that has a green code on the right. For instance, typing 00451 and hitting the enter key will bring up the short film itself, this time without the site login because you just acted out that part on your own. In order to step back and try out the archives, type CD and press enter. From there, type 2, press enter, and be faced with a request for a password. Let's try out that really odd word from earlier, Wham. Incorrect password. Wham isn't what we use here. Let's try that other odd phrase we saw, sad day. And sure enough, the archives are now wide open, presenting 42 files for us to access. A wide range of audio files, images, text documents, and even an exe. As for how many videos you can see above in the logs, there are 29 public videos listed, marking the total at 71 total files to dig through on top of reading the text logs from dates where videos weren't made available. But not even that is true. Once again, we go back to the end credits frame for AB Solutions, where we've been instructed to make sure our hardware is installed correctly by pressing 3 on the dial pad. If you go to the root menu where you can select option 1, 2, and 0, and instead try to type 3 and hit enter, you will be given a prompt for a password. This is where the term Wham comes in. Now you have access to an additional 10.5-minute video marked only 3. Asking for 2 and 1 will also give you additional videos, bringing the total video count so far to 74. And we're still not done. Users who dug into the actual JavaScript code for the site's database facade discovered 2 more files with access codes that don't even appear to be listed in the rest of the information we have. The first is video file 00001, which, on second thought, might have been hinted at in the AB Solutions end credit frame as well, right here. The second secret file is from the archives, file 51235. Again, neither of those files are actually listed, just like the secret 2 files in option 3, otherwise known as option X. And finally, that makes 76 files of information to explore outside of the actual written logs in between videos that viewers had to dig through in the AB Solutions site alone. One video led to 75 other pieces of information to be explored, many of them several minutes in length. The entire length of the site's videos put in order maxes out at 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 18 seconds. Add in the 12 audio files measured at 39 minutes, 24 seconds, and you're facing 1 hour, 48 minutes, and 43 seconds of timed media just sitting down and listening to it all in one go. And that's not even counting in the time it would take to read the text files, read the logs in between videos, and study the archive images, many of which are of newsletters that require spending a few minutes reading them. And you'll also want to spend about 10 or 15 minutes exploring the surface level of the AB Solutions site, which is a mystery in itself. We're dealing with at least 2 full hours of content from a single site that, believe me, will require more than one viewing just to wrap your head around what's happening here and take up more time than you ever realized. And guess what? We're still not done. Very early in the logs for the site, visitors caught a glance at the title of the show on TV from the main video, The Sculptor's Clayground. A quick Google search for the show brought up 2 results. Another website created by the host of the show, and a full episode of the show itself uploaded to YouTube by Clayground Fan 69, who joined YouTube the very day This House Has People in It was advertised to premiere. This video brings up our official timed media total to a final number of 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 29 seconds, by the way. We've now officially crossed the 2-hour threshold without even touching the text files or images. Why do I keep bringing this up? Because honestly, I'm in shock. I'm shocked, I'm impressed, and then I come right back around to being shocked. Unedited footage of a bear was a 10-minute video with a website on the side to serve as a supplement experience. It was largely optional, and you could get through the whole site and its secrets in under 20 minutes. You didn't even need to go there to understand the message of the video. Wham City went from doing that to making what is, at the very minimum, a 2-hour experience that just begins with an 11-minute video. I knew that This House Has People in It was going to be a video that worked like a puzzle box. I was prepared for a single video and maybe a website if we were lucky. I had absolutely no idea it was going to turn out to be this huge. This is operating at everyman hybrid levels of media collecting, and once you dig into that media, it hits David Lynch levels of complicated performance art. This is not a short film project. It's an alternate reality game that just doesn't have the real-world travel and exploration element. In order to understand the short film that aired on Adult Swim in its full sense, someone would actually need to experience the breadth of this entire experience. We're going to tear through the material as quickly as possible for its relevant portions and the discoveries inside as we cross each necessary point of discussion. Just know that the full amount of material is available on the AB Surveillance site, and I do highly encourage, just like with unedited footage of a bear, going to the site and exploring on your own. There's a whole lot of material to find. And now, before we begin our examination starting with the Sculptor's Clayground video, I'm going to encourage you once more to watch it in full before proceeding. It feels like just as much thought and effort went into making this piece as the first video for this house has people in it. In fact, upon watching it for the first time, I honestly felt like it had been produced to be its very own episode of infomercials on Adult Swim and somehow hadn't been picked up. It feels entirely like a lost episode of infomercials, and I can't help but wonder if that was the true intention before it was made part of the experience for this house. Go ahead and do as previously mentioned. Click the title card here if you're on a desktop or laptop, or use the link in the video description below, then come back for the full charge into the media behind This House Has People in It. Believe it or not, what you've just seen is a giant cipher key to a major portion of this project. Our sculptor isn't just here for laughs. His entire act and belief system is crucial to our investigation. While watching, did you feel as if this was a man who you could trust in any way, shape, or form? He certainly doesn't qualify as a sculpture artist or even a professional presenter trying out this craft for the camera, but according to the video title, he's been filming for more than 4 years. On his website, he claims to have sold many of his sculptures for thousands of dollars, with the smallest sale at $3,000 for this item. His best sale comes in at $200,000 and is allegedly part of a private collection of good art. I'm no judge of monetary value for art pieces, but I don't quite think these figures are legitimate. And surely someone with all that money from a successful art career could afford a better looking website than this. We can also see that our ex-convict and artist extraordinaire has put his shirt on backwards. You can spot the tags hanging off the back of his collar and on his hip. You might have also noticed the extraordinary amounts of spelling mistakes and poor grammar and text that comes across the screen, which only get worse when you explore his website. Add in his truly unprofessional behavior and attitude on set for the show, and it's very easy to see that we're looking at a man who just can't be trusted. Even if his demeanor had been toned down, however, and his website had looked more legitimate, we could still detect something that just isn't right by what he says in two very specific moments.
Now, this is just a warning before you get started. If you're handling clay that comes from a prison yard, you're gonna have to wash your hands before and after using it, because it's one of the easiest ways in the world to get Lynx disease, and that doesn't wash off.
So, clay from a prison yard may contain Lynx disease, which you don't want to catch, so you'll need to wash the clay off your hands to make sure you're safe after using it. But Lynx disease doesn't wash off? So the disease which is in the clay will not come off once I remove the clay, even though you're saying remove the clay. Alright, sure. What else can our sculptor tell us about clay safety?
Working with clay, it's the best medicine. It also cures Lynx disease.
So we can catch Lynx disease from working with clay, but working with clay also cures Lynx disease. Right, makes total sense.
So keep that in mind. I'll have information about that up on the web. Lynx disease. You don't want to get it, but you do want to get rid of it with clay.
He's right. We don't want to get Lynx disease, so let's check out that website to see if there are any more detailed instructions on using clay as a cure. How do I get Lynx disease? First of all, don't. You don't want to get it. You do want to get rid of it. You get it from some waters, not washing your hands, handling some clays. Sex is one way. It is airborne. It's in the air. Some water filters actually put Lynx in water. Too much exercise is a way. Needles. And apparently saying, where is that happening? Do I have Lynx? Yes, you do. You have it. So, not only can we apparently catch Lynx disease from bacteria, clay, the water, sex, and exercising, we already have the disease that we've been warned about. Is there a way to check for sure? Well, according to our sculptor, all the symptoms of Lynx are different for each person, but some of them are disturbingly similar for everyone. Here is the number one symptom of Lynx: yucky ear. This is a photo of my ear, and this was the first symptom I got. I woke up one morning with perfect pitch. I have always been a pitchy singer and I couldn't never hit the high notes on songs, so I was shocked and horrified to find out I had perfect pitch. I looked in the mirror and I had yucky ear. This is the beginning of a horrible journey that sucked. I traveled many shitty trails and paths. It ruined my life. Except that there are at least 3 problems with what we're looking at in the picture alone. First off, that is a beautifully performed Photoshop job of placing bubbles inside of someone's ear that doesn't actually mesh with its surroundings. Secondly, the lighting grade and definition of the picture far exceed all others on the website, even though whoever took this picture should have brought the same equipment when shooting the sculptures. And finally, this ear belongs to another person entirely. Not only does our sculptor not have a piercing, you can never tell me these 2 ears come from this same person. Still, I didn't have to pull evidence for you to know this image is fake. If you have eyes capable of sight, you knew. Our sculptor also goes on to say, yes, you do have links. You're getting really good at singing and people are starting to take notice. That's the links. Oh, and guess what? It's also killing your whole body, and you can't write songs about that. Maybe you didn't wash your hands or something, but anyways, no time to worry about old things. Links will ruin your life. Keep that apparent symptom in mind for later and remember where it came from. If you go to the website, you can find plenty more evidence that the sculptor is lying about basically everything he says. But here's my favorite clue that Link's disease doesn't exist. At the top of the page, we have 4 links, actual internet links. Link 1, Link 2, Link 3, and Link 4. If you click on any of them, you will go nowhere. All 4 links are broken. The links do not exist. Get it? Links don't exist. Also, about that clay he says to use, 12-gauge granular clay. A quick search for 12-gauge granular clay only results in seeing videos and websites for 12-gauge shotgun clay target shooting. Clay is not measured in gauges, so he was wrong about that. But even more interesting is the result when you take out 12-gauge and just look for granular clay. Sodium bentonite. What is sodium bentonite? This website tells us all we need to know. Sodium bentonite is a natural sealant and is used for sealing stock and recreational ponds, dairy and sewage lagoons, and city landfills. It is also effective as a hole plug as well as for controlling dust on highways. Sodium bentonite is one of the most effective low-cost methods of treating porous soils. It is so effective that the federal government and most states require a liner of sodium bentonite or material comparable to be used to seal toxic waste lagoons and abandoned water and oil wells. It is environmentally safe because it contains no chemicals, no additives, and nothing toxic. Our sculptor absolutely insists upon getting 12-gauge granular clay from a prison yard. He makes many references to prison yard clay as the only quality clay for the process of sculpting that cured him of Link's disease. It's really not hard to imagine that sodium bentonite, a common construction material and industrial sealant, can be found in a prison yard. Again, I'm no sculptor myself, but I'm really certain this is not the kind of clay anyone is going to be using for professional work. What we really want to pay attention to in this video, however, is a giveaway so subtle it would fly over most viewers' heads as just another instance of random artistic nonsense. During the intro, our sculptor character looks at 2 pictures hanging on a wall. First a horse, and then an apple. Horse, apple, horse apple. Have you ever heard of a horse apple? You might have heard it as an expression before, and if you don't remember what it means, I'll just let Urban Dictionary refresh your memory. Horse shit. A piece of shit from a horse. Otherwise known as a synonym for a more common term, bullshit. We were told up front that what we would be learning from the sculptor character would be false. Just a load of horse apples. But the clue goes even deeper than just the euphemism.
They're called hedge apples or horse apples.
Yeah, some people call them monkey brains, but whatever you call them, one thing you definitely don't want to do is eat them. Fox 19 Stefano DiPietrantonio, keeping you safe with more. Steph?
Hey there, Dan and Trish. You can find plenty of these Osage oranges on the ground right now. Some people like to use them as a seasonal decorations, others as an insect repellent, according to folklore. But for kids, pets, you and me, they are not the kind of apples you ever want to take a bite out of. You gotta go deep inside the farmyard to find these century-old Osage orange trees. Madeline Dorger gave me the skinny on these fat, funky, prehistoric fruits.
Giant ground sloths in the region used to eat them. Now they're poisonous to most things.
They smell light and citrusy.
I don't think it looks very appetizing. I don't think a cat or a dog would try and eat it.
And neither should you or your kids.
They would probably just throw up a couple times. It wouldn't make them deathly ill.
Well, that's interesting. But if they're so useless or even poisonous to human beings, why would we need a public service announcement telling people not to eat them? I'll be very glad to show you.
If you or someone you care about has cancer, this video and this could change everything. A little over 9 months ago, a good friend of mine who's also a business partner told me about a dream that he had had the night before. In that dream, he was told that we would be developing cures for major diseases. In the dream, he was also given ingredients that we're supposed to use from nature in developing these cures. The primary ingredient that he was given in his dream for a cure for cancer was a horse apple. When he first told me it was a horse apple, I said, "What's a horse apple?" He said, "You know, it's those green things that are big and about the size of a baseball up to a grapefruit. And they go on these trees, and they kind of ugly looking fruit. They're also called hedge apples, Osage, orange apples." After the dreams, we had to decide, well, what do we do next? How do we take these dreams and the ingredients that we're given and the cures that we're supposed to develop and do something with it? Well, the first thing's obvious. Do some research on the internet. One of the interesting things we found out about the hedge apple on the internet is somebody had claimed that it had been used to cure skin cancer and bladder cancer. With the skin cancer, they had applied the juices from the apple onto their skin cancer over a period of weeks, and gradually the skin cancer cleared up. With regard to the bladder cancer, they had put the hedge apple in a freezer, taken it out on a daily basis, shaved off with a shredder a teaspoon a day, had eaten it, and within a matter of about 30 to 45 days, their bladder cancer had gone away. The other thing that was interesting that we found as we began to just try to determine, has there been any scientific research that's been done on the hedge apple? We did find not much, but one science report from Direct Science that had been done in 2007 and that had studied the hedge apple and had found out that it in fact did have cancer-fighting properties.
The stories online this man mentions of the horse apple cure do exist, and they start in the comment section of that video. A friend of mine's dad had throat cancer from years of smoking and dipping. He said he'd die before they cut his larynx out and put a hole in his throat. He did do some radiation, about 6 weeks, and quit. His old friend told him about this old Native American recipe, if you will, with these hedge apples. The theory was that horses and cows eat these daily and they never contract cancer, so that's what they would eat for this reason. He couldn't swallow solid food anyway because of the pain, so he made about 5 hedge apple drinks mixed with milk a day. The throat cancer is gone to this day. True story. We all know almost every one of us are skeptical, but there's nothing to lose. A friend of ours had lung cancer and the doctor told him he only had 3 months to live. As soon as we found out about it, we suggested for him to try hedge apple. After 8 months, he's cancer-free, and to date, he is still using hedge apple as part of his diet. I know of 2 men who had cancer in the lymph nodes and it cured them. From there, we can find websites and blogs dedicated to recording the miracles of horse apples. You are about to read true stories from people who have used hedge apples to kill cancer cells in their bodies. You'll also see stories about animals who have been healed by eating hedge apples. You'll also find pictures of hedge apples and reports of scientific studies using a chemical found in hedge apples called tetrahydroxystilbene. I am constantly giving my readers the latest stories of people who have been cured of cancer or are in remission. If you have been healed of cancer or other diseases after eating hedge apples or taking the capsules, please email me so that I can enter the information here. It gives cancer patients hope to learn of others who have been healed or in remission. Here's an interesting parallel for you from this website that connects to our Sculptor Zone. He describes making thousands of sculptures while locked up in a private prison where he first felt the healing power of the clay. While making this piece, titled Sammy, I first felt the healing properties of the clay. I had been suffering from stage 5 lynx, and guess what? I was dying. After weeks of secret sculpting, I felt like I was back to 100% full health. Capitalism doesn't work. Period. In this post from the Horseapple Cure blog letting people know the season was on for harvesting, we can see the author writes, God bless each and every one of you who are dealing with cancer. Please know there is always hope. Don't give up, even if you have been told you are in stage 4. So, how about the claims of legitimate scientific evidence when it comes to this hedge apple treatment? The subject was brought up to a website where doctors can answer questions directly on open forums, and the answer was very clear. There actually are reasons to take a second look at hedge apples for treating cancer. There have been over 220 studies of chemicals found in hedge apple seeds. There have been at least 22 studies of using the fruit or its seeds to treat cancer. A study in China found that hedge apple seed oil in laboratory conditions could stop the regeneration of stem cells that perpetuate glioma, a particularly deadly form of brain cancer. An extract from the fruit of a closely related plant, also in the mulberry family, has been found to stop the proliferation of leukemia cells, also under laboratory conditions. A purified chemical known as a lectin, extracted from hedge apples, has been found to lock onto receptor sites in ovarian cysts, raising the question of whether hedge apples might not hold a treatment for ovarian cancer. None, absolutely none of these findings, however, proves that hedge apples cure cancer. A tumor in a test tube presents far fewer variables than a tumor in a living human being. A chemical that can be added to a petri dish will not necessarily survive a trip through the digestive tract or the bloodstream. The liver can either activate or deactivate thousands of chemicals, and how busy liver enzymes are with other activities, dealing chemicals from food or medication or toxins affects how much the liver changes a plant chemical as it passes through. And just to underline the doctor's reply, they add, there are no fruits or berries that cure cancer. Two of yesterday's big superfruit fads, acai berries and pomegranates, are listed with a whole lineup of so-called disease-killing foods that have seen publicity circuits. The doctor also makes it clear that a treatment doesn't work just because it is natural. Now, we aren't here to discuss whether or not a fruit whose name is synonymous with horseshit actually has merit in fighting cancer. What we're supposed to take away from this is how deeply it lines up with, or links to, the sculptor's apparent cure for lynx disease, clay. And considering that there doesn't actually appear to be any such thing as lynx disease, we can take more of an Urban Dictionary approach to the meaning behind horse apples in this film and say that our sculptor is probably full of them. He's a snake oil salesman with a whole lot of emotional baggage and apparently major delusions if his website is anything to go by. But is he being deceitful on purpose? I actually don't fully believe so. He seems to buy into his own lie just as much as he buys into his cure, but the need to share his beliefs with everyone may have led him to turn lynx disease into a catch-all disorder, where any method of contracting it and any symptom can apply. It wouldn't surprise me at all to find out that he learned about lynx disease inside of the prison from another inmate either. A prison is a wonderful place to catch horrible diseases, and I'm sure our sculptor met plenty of inmates with tall tales and delusions to infect gullible minds with. Now, it's been established that this character and his television show, most likely public access programming, are part of the universe our family in this house inhabits. The grandmother, who we'll come to know as Subject 5 in the logs, is an avid viewer of the show, and it may be that she's not alone because in our very first text file from the archives, we spot an email from Anne, known as Subject 1, to Madison, Subject 3. This message is the earliest piece of information with a firm date on it in the entire timeline of events. Madison, I don't want to embarrass you in front of the rest of the family, but your bathroom breaks are becoming very problematic. Are you checking your phone on the T? We have 2 new members of our household, and that means that we have to be more aware of how we share the space. Using your tea time to look at the internet is very unhelpful and also unsanitary. Remember that lynx disease spreads amongst the family like a fire. In a later email, we confirm that Anne is pretty worried about lynx disease. This message actually comes from her doctor. Anne, the lab results are back in, and I'm happy to inform you that the samples you brought to the office last week have been confirmed lynx-free. I hope this news finds you well and that you can finally feel resolved. Lynx has become a big issue in our community, and it's going to be up to people like you to help stop it from becoming a bigger one. That said, this is the 4th set of samples you brought to our attention, and I'm concerned that you are taking these matters perhaps too seriously. Remember that we have other patients to whom we have to show the same amount of care and attention as we have to you and your family. Try and take these lab results to heart. If you continue on bringing me and my staff these samples, I may have to ask you to find another physician. Anne clearly has a mental preoccupation with Lynx disease and wants to be overly sure that she doesn't have it. Meanwhile, Grandma definitely knows about it due to watching the Sculptor's Clayground, and the hobby she's taken up as a result may be driving Anne's paranoia. In the living room, we spotted 2 clay sculptures. In a very early video in the logs, we discover that Jackson and the grandmother share a bedroom, and in that bedroom, we have more sculptures. In the same video, we see that Jackson's mattress really doesn't have any bed sheets. It's also established quite early and confirmed in several points later through text and audio that Jackson and the grandmother aren't related. This is a blended family. Jackson and his biological father, Tom, have moved in with Anne, her daughter Madison, and her grandmother. The baby seems to be the first child of Tom and Anne, tying both sides of the family together by blood. When exploring the information inside the AB Surveillance Solutions website, almost everyone is referred to as a subject. The list goes as follows. Anne is subject 1, Tom is subject 2, Madison is subject 3, Jackson, sometimes referred to as Jack in text documents, is subject 4, Grandma is subject 5, and Dennis, the repairman, is subject 6. There are going to be other subjects who show up in the logs that we will not catch on video. We don't know who they are except for 2 of them. One is a little girl known as Subject 27 who approaches the house and becomes affected by her visit just inside the front yard. We'll be exploring that concept later. The other, Subject 9, is someone we'll be seeing frequently, and their first appearance in the timeline comes from the very first video in the timeline, the secret tape marked 00001. Perhaps you'll recognize him. Go on, have a look. This is a character known as Boomy. Boomy the cat. He's blue and he's fast and he's a cat. The first mention of Boomy comes in a text message that comes right after Anne criticizes Madison's misuse of her cell phone in the timeline. My new brother-in-law or whatever is so weird. He keeps drawing these pictures of what he thinks is Boomy the cat and they look so bad. I'll have to take some pictures of them and show you. Also, I think he's like making up other characters. I'm not a big Boomy fan or anything, but I'm pretty sure there's no cat who's all pink. Remember that quick frame from the leader video on the air of a child's drawings, all of which seemed to show a character called Boomcat? There you go. Those were Jackson's drawings of his favorite cartoon character. And now we see him in the flesh. Or at least, someone dressed up like Boomy laying in the backyard and they look way too big to be Jackson. It also appears to be morning, as if Boomy just woke up on the ground. We end up seeing plenty of Boomy later, and users who dig through the archives after using the sad day password can get a bit more up close and personal by launching the file 80072, boomy.exe. This game is exactly what it looks like. You play Boomy, who, like our friend from the backyard, seems to have a very human face. The only thing you can really do in this game is run to the right and eat garbage. Eat all the garbage and you get a wonderful close-up end title of Boomy enjoying that trash. You're then prompted to print out an award, and if the printout works on your internet browser of choice, you receive this, a text image of the same title. If it's not clear enough yet that Boomy loves to eat garbage, here's an image from the game files that didn't end up being used. There's no word on whether or not that's actually canon to the show, but in the story of This House Has People in It, we can confirm it later with a video of the front yard. Boomy runs on by, going fast as he can, and the video clip is interrupted by several quick frames before ending, all involving Boomy digging into garbage bags and eating from them. When we see Boomy next, his visit is preceded by a very odd scene. Anne enters the kitchen with a pizza box. She opens it on the counter where we can see it looks a little bit odd and colorless inside. She then spits on the pizza, brings it over to the other counter, and begins dropping slices into a drawer. Our close-up is now strong enough to see that the pizza is made out of clay. A few quick shot frames fly by showing Boomy eating the clay out of the drawer. Anne places the pizza box with the remaining slices on top of some cabinets. We then catch a few more quick frames of Anne on another day, taking more pizza slices out of the box, and here you can really see that it is, in fact, clay. She drops the pizza into the garbage, and in another frame, we see Boomy digging into this cabinet, just as we see in a very early frame during the video while Anne hasn't begun throwing out pieces. Boomy has been in here a lot. The final few seconds of the video zoom out far enough for us to see that Anne has put the pizza box on top of another. There are 2 pizza boxes on top of this cabinet. This is where the secret codes for pizza, cheese, and pepperoni from earlier come into play. We were meant to catch this moment. All along throughout the files and videos, we catch Tom and Anne constantly ordering pizza for dinner. Aside from some expensive crackers discussed in audio logs, it seems like pizza is all that they eat. There's one other video in which a pizza box is featured, and it takes the prize for the most mysterious out of the entire lineup in my eyes. Tape number 05008, subject to living room. Except that Tom isn't in the living room. He's in the hallway, at the front door, and he's not doing too well. Observe. Do you hear those noises? I hope they're clear enough for you. In the original audio, a microphone buzz persists throughout the track, making it a bit tough to hear all the extra sound. I've taken the liberty of pulling away the mic buzz and turning up the volume on the odd sounds. Watch and listen. Pizza obviously plays a major role in the story, but why the pizza and why the spitting? What was Tom even doing? Why did he grab a saw? Why was he acting so absurd? We'll be dealing with that soon. Right now, I want to bring you back to the original conversation that Tom had with Anne during the main event video. Tom brought up the idea of going on vacation to somewhere other than Orlando, Florida. He wanted to go to Cape Town, which is in South Africa. If you also remember from that video, we picked up the Afrikaans word for observance, waarneming, except for the G cut off at the end, of course. Afrikaans is a language spoken primarily in South Africa and Namibia. At several other points in our information timeline, Tom brings up going to South Africa again. It happens at least twice, including an email message to Anne about airline tickets on sale for Pretoria, Africa. He insists on going. Tom has a bit of an obsession with South Africa. You know what else Tom has a bit of an obsession with? You might have already guessed by process of elimination, but his son isn't the only fan of Boomy the cat in the household. Here's a video in which Tom dresses up in Jackson's t-shirt, lays in his bed, and then sits at his desk drawing Boomy as if he were actually Jackson. In the video that comes a day after the calamity of Jackson's birthday, we have Tom and Ann talking in the living room, and Tom brings up something that's troubling him. Ignore any movement you see in the window behind Tom. That's just Dennis, the repairman, recovering after being completely wrecked by two guys who jumped him, which Tom and Ann, of course, did not happen to see. We'll talk about that later as well, just focus on what Tom is saying right now and how he says it.
I'm a little worried about Jackson.
Why is that?
Boomy.
Oh, Boomy.
Yeah,
Where is he right now?
he's watching Boomy.
How long has he been watching it for today?
He's been watching it for a couple of hours. He and I had
Hours?
a little run-in in the hallway,
Uh-huh.
and he got very quiet and very upset. And he went upstairs and he, closed the door, and then I could hear Boomy on the tablet.
Well, is his homework done?
Yes.
Okay. You think he's old enough to be watching Boomy?
Yeah, I think Boomy's, I think it helps him concentrate. I know that sounds weird, but I think there's something about it. Boomy is a blue cat.
He is, yeah.
He runs very, very fast. And I think that the imagery and the way it's portrayed is kind of meditative for him, if that sounds weird.
That's beta waves, Tom. He's not thinking about anything.
No, it's different.
Mm.
And I just feel like it's one of the few things that he has to himself. I think he feels very,
You don't think it's too violent?
no, it's not. No.
Or are you going to say it's too fast?
I don't think it.
It's very fast.
The
Tom.
point is that I think that he's having a bit of an adjustment issue. The new house, the new situation with your mother.
I think we're all having a little trouble with that.
Well, I think that this Boomy thing is going to give him a little bit, it's something that he can watch when he wants to. He can watch it on his tablet and have a little bit of, control over his life.
I don't know how a blue cat is going to give your son some control over his life, but we'll give it a shot.
He's young, it's aspiration
To be a blue cat?
to be a fast cat.
I see. Okay. Well, we've all got to have dreams, I suppose.
Do you remember that song?
Which one?
The Boomy the Cat song.
I don't think I ever knew that song.
I don't know the whole song. I've heard like little teeny bits.
How's it go?
It's like, he's fastest thing. No, what is it? He's fast and he's blue. He's coming for you. He's Boomy the cat. He's your friend now too. I think it's just healthy. It's healthy.
Yeah. I mean, a little aggressive, but maybe healthy.
Everybody needs an imaginary friend.
It's not imaginary, it's a cartoon.
Well, I know, but he probably, you know what I mean.
Now, let's head to another moment where Tom brings up Boomy much later on.
Boomy the cat, he's Boomy. He runs so fast, he looks so sweet, the sweetest, funniest cat I ever did meet. He's booming around, he's Boomy, the bluest in town.
So cute.
I don't know.
And let's check out the remaining two files we have on Boomy, both of them emails. The person behind the first is pretty clear to make out. Hello, my name is Jackson, and I am the biggest Boomy the Cat fan in my neighborhood or at school. I have seen all the TV episodes at least 3 times, and I've seen the movies 10 times. As you can see, I am a serious. I can sing the Boomy the Cat song from memory. My favorite color is blue, but I love Boomy so much I call it Boomy Blue. I wanted to ask something because I can't bring it up to my family. Is Boomy real? I know he is a cartoon, but there has been several times I think I have seen him near or around my house. It's hard to say because he runs very fast, but there have been several times when I am pretty sure I saw him. We have a lot of deers in our backyard and I like to watch them, but recently it looks like something is chasing them around and I am pretty sure it is Boomy. I am really excited to find out. The second email comes from much earlier in the timeline and is a response to someone in the house. Thanks for registering to be a Boom Cadet. You should receive your blast package in 8 to 10 weeks. Make sure to run as fast as a sonic boom and ask your parents' permission before sending any signed materials, photos, or fan art materials back to Boom Central. And remember, Boomy is the bluest, fastest cat around. We don't know for sure who ordered a Boom Cadet blast package in the house. While it most likely is Jackson, there is an audio file from the archives that leads me to believe it might be someone a little bit older. In a previous phone call recording between Tom and Anne, Tom ordered a discounted set of 4 dog costumes using Anne's credit card. In the next recording, Anne calls Tom upstairs to ask if she has to sign for the package. The mailman is at the door. Tom hesitates quite obviously before telling her she shouldn't have to do that. The mailman really should just place the package down at the door and head off. Anne waves to the mailman and he does leave. Then she and Tom begin speaking about surprising the kids with the dog costumes they bought and then ordering a pizza for dinner. Now, Tom might have just been confused about dog costumes because he'd forgotten what he ordered, or he might not have wanted Anne to inspect that package before he could get his hands on it. Either way, certain frames of Boomy sure do look a lot like Tom, and Tom's talk about Jackson's aspirations seemed a little too supportive of Boomy the cat. So let's say that Tom has been dressing up at night as Boomy and running around aspiring to be a fast, cool cat. Why eat garbage? Why eat clay pizza? Why is the pizza even made out of clay? Do you remember Tom's slight obsession with South Africa? It turns out that in South Africa, it has become a growing trend for people to eat clay. In fact, for some South Africans, it has become an addiction. According to a report by Reuters in 2004, South African women are eating dirt and loving it. The hottest fast food seller on the streets of Johannesburg these days is chunks of clay. These are sold alongside fruit, sweets, and cool drinks for 50C a stone or R1 for a packet. The craving for clay is found particularly among pregnant and lactating women, but eating clay is a widespread practice in South Africa and neighboring countries. It is also popular in parts of the United States and Europe. But the appetite for clay can sometimes reach the level of an addiction. A seller in the Johannesburg city center who wanted to be known only as Tandi for fear of police harassment said her customers tell her they go crazy without the stuff. Another hawker, who also did not want to be named, said her customers get depressed or angry if she ran out of stock. Fortunately, that rarely happens as bags of clay are delivered every week to the market. Vendor Martha Malulika, 52, who now earns her living and supports her 6 children from the clay mud income, said she became addicted to clay in 1992 after seeing a friend eat it. The urge became worse when she was pregnant with her first child. I just couldn't stop eating it. I would sometimes burn the rock till it was crisp and eat it like peanuts, said Malulika. But really, how does it taste? What drives so many women to eat dirt? Clay mud is tasteless. It's neither sweet, salty, nor fatty. But it's so irresistible the urge is just uncontrollable, Malulika contends. Although she has since kicked the habit, she continues to sell clay stones. It is a lucrative business. She sells nothing else. While Europeans favor clay for its detoxification properties, in Africa it is famed for its gastrointestinal benefits. In times of famine, it makes the stomach feel full and relieves hunger pangs. People believe it cleans out the intestinal tract, rids the body of parasites, and prevents infection. It is said to help skin conditions like acne or eczema because of its ability to absorb toxins. And guess what? It's not just for Africans anymore. Just 2 years ago, in May of 2014, the Huffington Post shared an article highlighting part of an interview with actress Shailene Woodley where she said she had begun eating clay. During a recent interview with beauty blog and apparent disseminator of wacky health tips Into the Gloss, actress Shailene Woodley described clay as one of the best things you can put into your body. Her evidence? A friend had metallic-smelling bowel movements after eating clay, a sure sign, Woodley claims, of heavy metals leaving the body. This is a practice in some indigenous cultures, and I think that probably came about because they did not have access to certain nutrients in their diet like calcium from dairy or iron, and there are some minerals in dirt or clay, explained Today's Show contributor and gastroenterologist Dr. Roshini Raj. Indeed, women in communities that don't include calcium-rich dairy in their diets are more likely to eat clay, research suggests. But there are better ways to get calcium, iron, and minerals, doctors agree. And while eating clay is mostly harmless, there are some concerns about both a pregnant woman and her fetus actually being exposed to arsenic, lead, and other toxicants that naturally occur in soil. The same goes for non-pregnant people. That's the opposite of the intended effect of so-called healing clays, which are taking off as a bit of a wellness trend to remove toxins, heavy metals, impurities, and chemicals that are thought to have been ingested. While there is some evidence that clays can help remove toxicants from food sources when used in a culinary context, there is no substantial medical evidence that these clays, including popular bentonite clay, remove toxins. Hey, wait. What was the name of that clay we discovered when trying to track down our sculptor's favorite material? Sodium bentonite, right? Now we know the reason why hungry South Africans feel so full after eating it. Sodium bentonite expands up to 15 to 18 times its original size when properly moisturized. Sounds like the perfect tool to trick your stomach into thinking you're not starving, when it's not being used as an industrial-grade sealing solution, of course. And yes, the article is correct about a growing trend of wellness companies turning clay into apparent health and healing remedies. There are entire lines of products you can find by searching for them online, including powdered clay you can add to your bath for an overall body treatment. Maybe that explains this odd log description on January 3rd, 2015. Subject 4, Jackson takes bath in red water. But just like the horse apples connection, eating clay is a metaphor. It just turns out to be for the same exact concept. Horse apples are used when a disease, like cancer, has already been contracted. Clay eating is used to rid yourself of perceived impurities, a full-body detoxification. For pregnant women, it's actually the reverse, gaining something your body lacks that it sorely needs, so you turn to the dirt. You turn to nature's garbage. Here's an interesting side note for you from our main event video. Do you remember Tom and Anne's discussion about the tomato plants? Tom is complaining about heavy metals and newspaper going in the backyard where they grow tomato plants in the summertime. Anne replies back, "Why do you think the tomatoes are so big in the summertime?" Tom admits he doesn't know by saying that's a good question. In the audio files from the archives, we can hear a recording of a conversation between Anne, who is in the backyard, and Tom, who is watching her from inside the house. Listen to this for a moment.
Hey, honey.
Hey, how's
Hey.
it going? Hi.
It's going all right.
Oh, good.
Hey, I can see you out there.
I know. Check it out. Look at all these
Don't
holes.
go too far, they'll say.
I'm not gonna look at all these holes I have.
Trying to get out.
Listen,
I've got this picture frame, and it's fallen to pieces, and I need some nails. I think that I saw some out there in the backyard.
Yeah, definitely. I know just what you mean. But take a look. Do these holes look big enough? Honey,
Yeah, I see them. I'm thinking.
Okay.
I don't know.
Should I do one or two more? Oh, here, I'll bring you the nails and we can look from the window.
Okay about them?
I think they're great, but I just wanted your opinion.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
I guess. Oh my God.
You okay?
There's like a bee in here.
Oh gosh. All right, I'm gonna come bring you the nails. Okay?
All right. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Anne is digging holes in the backyard, and it sounds like a lot of them. Apparently, trash goes into those holes, and after that, plants come up. Tomatoes. Big tomatoes, which they undoubtedly end up eating. Trash to vegetables. They're eating food that was garbage, and what's more, Anne is suggesting a link between the size of the tomatoes and their garbage-bearing habits, leading to big, healthy summertime tomatoes. Plant heavy metals in newspapers? Get nice big tomatoes to eat. Feeling impure? Eat some clay and you're okay. Got Lynx disease? Work with clay and you'll be cured. Have cancer, even stage 4? Eat a horse apple, that'll fix you right up. This family watches a show on TV where a man with an imaginary disease praises a cure that is a metaphor for horseshit, and the family begins eating pizza made out of that cure, clay. That clay, which comes from a prison yard, is eaten by members of the family as if it were food in the form of pizza, in the same way South Africans eat it, in the belief they're gaining something from it, with one of these people even going as far as to dig the remains out of the garbage to eat. And why do they do it? For the same exact reason the Sculptor does it. They are scared of something that doesn't actually exist. Now is when our images from the archives come into play. Out of the 10 images that come from the archives, 5 of them are pictures of a newsletter called the Lynx Review, informing Lynx disease victims of all sorts of sporadic information in their community. It feels like a spoof of some sort of Us Weekly magazine for people with celiac disease, the condition where you're not supposed to eat gluten. My simile here is no accident, by the way. The first thing I thought of when I began examining the metaphor surrounding the pizza was the connection between clay and pizza dough, which have essentially the same physical qualities, and bread, the foundation for any kind of pizza, is loaded with gluten. If you remember the overblown health scare about gluten a while back, you can see an almost perfect parallel between the Lynx disease scare with clay and gluten overdose fear with pizza dough. Decent enough comparison, but not quite on the mark after the other discoveries we've made. The Lynx Review is almost like a smoking gun to so much of the odd activity we witness in the videos and the video logs. It's filled with terrible suggestions and implied behavior for readers who think they have Lynx disease, or, if they see themselves matching any of the information in the newsletters, readers who can be tricked into thinking they have it. There's a ton of oddities in the AB surveillance database that show up in the newsletters, and all of these newsletters read as if they were written by our Sculptor friend on TV. Let's take a look at some of the details from the first issue, number 25. Links. Credit card fraud. Ever considered it? Our experts weigh in on the pros and cons of committing credit card fraud. Who do we know who has committed credit card fraud? Tom, when he used Anne's credit card information to purchase the dog costumes for his family. The victim might have known about it, but the act was still legitimate. New symptoms. That's right, Lynxers. You may have thought you knew everything there was to know about your Lynx special abilities, but you have just cracked the tippy tip of the iceberg, and we are here to show you all that you have to offer. Wet, heavy, small, or whatever have you, there are all kinds of ways to Lynx out and keep it cool. Special abilities. Like suddenly becoming a good singer? How about the ability to phase through objects like a floor? Maybe you develop the power to push objects with your mind like Anne thinks she's capable of doing late in the timeline. Maybe you're like Jackson, who suddenly develops extreme mental processing speed and tries to hack into the government with 4 laptops on the kitchen floor. Or maybe, like Tom, you just try to burst into song every now and then to see if you've developed a sense of pitch like the man who makes the sculptures on TV.
It's your flag in the sky, it's your flag. You are waiting for the day when the flag comes, and that day is coming. It's yours, it's yours, it's your flag in the sky, and we will make it ours. It's the biggest flag in the sky, and it's ours, and we want nothing more than to make it our own, and we're proud, and we're proud, and we're proud of the flag. Salute the flag, salute the flag, salute the flag. It's our flag up top on the mountain top.
That bit of crying at the end? I think Tom believes he just passed his own diagnosis test for Lynx disease. With our next issue of the Lynx review, we see an artist's construction figure doll folded over in someone's hand as if ready to be twisted into whatever shape is desired, and I don't count that as an accident. The newsletter claims, this month we're celebrating Lynxer's special attributes. And as part of those many incorrect uses of the word attributes, we see the phrases malleable surface and dog costume. Clay is a pretty malleable surface. I'm thinking human brains can be pretty malleable too. Maybe as a test you could, say, convince someone to try on a dog costume. Certainly isn't hard to convince a gullible brain they have a disease that doesn't exist, as our next issue shows us. Lynx. Take our Lynx Test Are You Now quiz and see what kind of lynxer you are. This is as good as a real doctor's diagnosis, so buckle up. This issue also has an alarming amount of pictures of medication when that's not the associated topic. 3 images of pills, a large image of an IV placed in someone's arm, and what looks like a stethoscope on a keyboard. The next issue is also alarming due to how closely it brings up events we've seen or read about in the house. Lynx. Head collapse. It's not just for lynxers. We go undercover to find out why someone else's head might also collapse. On February 23, 2015, we see a log titled, Subject 4, Head Collapse. For reasons unknown, Jackson's head collapsed, whatever horrifying result that implies. The issue goes on with what seems to be a wink to the intro of Sculptor's Clayground, followed by other video ties. Answers. Could a lynxer ride a horse? Is it safe to mow the lawn with a lynxer around? We have the questions and the answers. The lawnmower is an interesting situation due to what occurs in the timeline. Our first video including the mower is one of the seriously hidden videos, one of the 2 not made publicly available in option 3 from the database, which also needed a clue to be found. It shows what appears to be the horrifying bald pink monster from the main event video mowing the lawn. Thought I'd forgotten about that puzzle piece, huh? Don't worry, we'll be dealing with that thing very soon, as well as the video in which poor Dennis took a beating and Tom's absurd movements in the hallway before trading Ann a saw for an empty pizza box. After the creature in the house finishes mowing the lawn at night, Tom comes out about a week and a half later to take care of the yard and has more than a bit of trouble with his mower, which he can't pick up off the ground. That's right, it's firmly stuck to the ground in the very same way Madison will be later in the timeline during Jackson's birthday. I'll explain this when we come back to our scary-looking pink house guest, but I'll at least give you this for now as compensation for more waiting. Tom's activity during the hallway video where he picks up a saw and exchanges it for a pizza box? I believe at least some of his activity has to do with the next bit of helpful information from the Lynx review. Get the Lynx out. We took 4 lynxers outside into the sun to see what happened, and the results might surprise you. I'm guessing the results weren't good because it sure seems that Tom doesn't want to go outside in full sunlight during this video. He also appears to be losing some control of his fine motor skills, which can be seen in another video where he's just using his lower body to push himself across the kitchen floor. As for the handsaw, I believe he's just getting it for Dennis, who probably left his tools by the front door. But why would Tom then receive an empty pizza box from Ann and spit in it? I think Ann is just taking the tool to Dennis and leaving Tom to throw out the pizza box. As for why he spits in it, this may be Tom showing disgust at the pizza he's eaten, the cure that didn't work, because he's still contracted lynx disease and is now afraid of sunlight. Or it may be the taste of metal in a lynx disease victim's mouth mentioned in the next issue, which he feels come on strong when spotting the pizza box. And, even worse than a bad taste, Tom might be losing full control of his physical movements. It certainly appears that's part of the condition from the next issue segment on Lynx. Trend alert! Don't let fall keep you wrapped up and immobile. We explain how to perform this season's hottest arm movements. Another section from this issue might even explain the video of Tom pushing himself across the floor, as well as Madison's own episode in the kitchen. Sometimes life with Lynx can feel like a constant battle with forces bigger than any of us are prepared to contend with. It can feel like a heavy weight on your chest, a literal feeling of heaviness on you that doesn't go away no matter what direction your body is aligned in. Sometimes it's just the taste of metal in your mouth. We've all been there. If Tom is experiencing a literal feeling of heaviness on him that doesn't go away no matter what direction his body is aligned in, that explains pretty perfectly why he's not picking himself up off the floor. Only his legs are strong enough to fight whatever's keeping him earthbound. So much of what we read in the issues of the Lynx review can be drawn to things we read or see in the AB Solutions logs and archives, and some can even come back to back in the text. 5914, Subject 5 unplugs refrigerator. Issue 57, 623. Did you unplug the fridge? Things Lynxers forget to do. Forgetfulness is one of the most nagging conditions that Lynxers face in the day-to-day. Where is someone? Is it night or day? Audio file 67087, Tom and Ann have a long conversation with Tom outside and Ann inside. They discuss hiding some expensive crackers they bought by burying them in the yard and forget what a shovel is called. They ask each other what the kids are doing and where they are, saying they must be active because it's the afternoon. Just minutes later, Tom complains about it being dark outside, checks his watch, and realizes it's actually 6 in the morning. Audio file 67264, Ann and Tom discuss the curtains on the 3rd floor, and there's a noticeable silence as each of them wonders if the other person forgets how many floors are actually in their house. Tom then admits he doesn't remember an area with blue curtains. There are rooms in the house he doesn't even have a mental map of yet. Audio file 93737, Tom gets in trouble with Ann because he forgets to water the Christmas tree. She also checks the tree to water it every day, but today it was completely dry as if it hadn't been watered in about a week. Almost every last weird event we see in the videos can be blamed on these newsletters. The instances of subjects hiding in the house for whatever reason and the video of the family appearing to hide from the baby? Issue 57, 623. Simply photocopy and use our Lynxers daily checklist to make sure you have all the answers you need on hand and ready to go. Already hid this morning? Check it off. No more hiding twice. Dennis covers his face in some kind of thick material in the first public video, 11009. Issue 79 of the Lynx Review, September 1st, right in the links. Cover your skin the easy way with a new thick spread that you won't see in any store. Lynx looks. Whisper to yourself in your room, cook for yourself in the kitchen, watch yourself on TV. 9315, Subject 9 Conversation in Mirror. 61514, Subject 9 Cooking Lasagna. And as for watching yourself on TV, we haven't quite seen that, but we have seen a picture of the TV on TV in a single frame during an episode of Sculptor's Clayground. If it's really the Sculptor and whoever he's managed to trick into sharing his delusion involved with the Lynx Review, the Sculptor almost certainly would be a Lynxer who has watched himself on TV. So really, with all of this revealed, what are we actually looking at here? What does it all mean, and how does it involve the main video and the pink person? There is a definitive answer, and that definitive answer is completely up to your own observation and perception. No, I'm not kidding. That really is the answer here, backed by clues within the timeline and affiliated media. The very first step in trying to understand the whole picture is all about taking a step back and getting out of the picture so that you can see the control booth. Look at the setup granted to us in order to have this experience. A database of secretly recorded and intercepted information from a very involved surveillance system. This is a system that maybe Tom knows about judging from the end of his flag song video, and maybe he doesn't. That information does not exist. It's not available to us. We don't get to see who signed what contract and where money changed hands. We are missing information, and that's an actual point the story is attempting to make. Yes, this project is about disease. But more importantly, it's about something even more eye-opening, the topic of perception. On the website for the Sculptor's Clayground, there is a single image that really does not seem to belong anywhere. Our Sculptor is delusional and misinformed, but he at least knows what kind of pictures go with what topic. Scrolling down the page, you might see something that looks like this. Kind of seems like a scrap of human flesh rotating or something, doesn't it? Well, open up the index page for the entire cache of images for the website and you get a surprise. It's an occipital bone, part of the skull. The occipital bone protects the occipital lobe of the brain, the area that is responsible for a human being's visual perception of the world. The occipital lobe is what brains use to interpret what we see. Now, take that image that really doesn't seem like it belonged there and its meaning, combine it with the idea of surveillance systems where we don't have all the facts, and add in the meaning of the password warnemen, observance. A picture is starting to form now, isn't it? Let's take another look at our friend the Sculptor in his video. There's exactly one thing about him, one single area of his body that actually seems to be affected by a real disease, which he's been covering up throughout the video. His eyes. Yes, he has a glove on his hand, and that glove is a special Lynx disease victim glove reviewed in the Lynx victim newsletter. But anyone can sprain their hand or just choose to wear a glove. What really sets the Sculptor apart are those red rashes under his eyes. His eyes are legitimately, visually diseased, and he doesn't want you to see the truth, which is why the glasses usually stay on. The major emphasis on glasses being drawn on during the intro of his episode was also a clue for us to catch. And speaking of eyes and glasses, let's fulfill another promise and head back to that video with poor Dennis getting beaten up outside. On first viewing, all you can really think about is who these guys are and why they're attacking the poor repairman. Then you ask yourself how Tom and Anne can't see this, especially when Anne is seated on a couch directly across from the window where Dennis is being assaulted. Let's go ahead and watch this clip in full as Dennis is attacked, this time listening very closely to what our married couple is talking about.
Tom, did you ever go to the eye doctor?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said that my right eye is out of focus, but not by a lot.
So you got glasses?
No, he said that it was not enough for him to recommend getting glasses. He said that as long as my left eye is taking up the slack, which is currently, that I should have, good 5 or 6 more years before I need to make that change.
I have a hard time believing that an optometrist with an opportunity to sell you some glasses wouldn't have sold you any glasses.
Well, it's all the new healthcare bill. That's all that it's all about preventative. You don't get paid for the same things you used to if you're a doctor.
So what did he say? Less screen time for you?
No. He said the screen is fine. Look, if I can't see something on a screen, I'll just zoom in.
It was what?
It's not a problem.
Right.
But he wants me to spend a little bit more time doing this thing which is, if I am doing something where I have something very close to my face for a long period of time, for like an hour or something like that. He wants me to spend every 10 minutes, spend 10 seconds looking at something that's at least 20 feet away.
It's like an eye exercise or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you been doing that?
I tried.
Does it feel better?
I mean, I can't tell. It's not like, my eyes don't hurt. I just have a blurry eye.
Well, maybe we should just get you some glasses.
I don't want to get glasses. You know what? You know who wears glasses?
Who wears glasses?
Old men.
Ugh. I think you would look very handsome in glasses.
I think I would look very old in glasses. And I think I would like at least a couple more years where I can look myself in the mirror and I can feel like I just don't want to do it yet.
Okay. It's your funeral.
It's not... Is it that bad for you? Are you worried? What are you worried about?
If it's something that we can prevent now, I don't see why you wouldn't just get glasses.
It is. He's saying I don't need it. It would be, if anything, he said that we could end up doing more damage if we tried to force prescriptions on me, or,
Just doesn't seem very reasonable. Is that record player still on?
Tom has vision problems and went to see the doctor. He claims that he wasn't offered glasses, but that sounds like horse apples from the way he's defending his argument. And Anne, who is sitting directly across from the window, clearly has her own eye problems because she can't even see Dennis being nearly killed outside. Both of these characters have impaired vision. They have bad perception, which would explain a whole lot of odd things you'll catch going through the videos on your own. Why was the letter R missing in the happy birthday sign? Bad perception, impaired view of the world and reality. But there's another aspect to that which underlines how far this theme of broken perception actually goes. Think about how much information from the entire stash of data was hidden from us. 3 videos and 1 image hidden from the database with no visible clues in sight to lead us where we could find them. Now consider the contents of that hidden image. The board of magnetic letters crossed out. No letters. Missing letters. Haven't we had our fair share of missing letters? The R was gone from the happy birthday sign. The P was missing from Sculptor's Clayground. The G wasn't available on the word warneming, and in the intro video for Sculptor's Clayground, during a quick flash of letters spelling out links, the N was missing. Put those letters together, and what do you have? Nothing that you can spell. Even if you take all the spare letters you can pick up that seem to have no place, the D, U, X on the fridge from the Clay Pizza video, the L, P, I, and Y from the dishwasher, and even grab the C from the fake ad at the top of the Sculptor's Clayground website, you still get nothing coherent. Not even putting these letters through an anagram solver will give you options to play with. We, as investigators, do not have the information needed to determine precisely what's happening here. We can't get all the answers. It's not possible. We're missing video recordings, names from emails, and even things we do have that can be looked at are still hidden from us. No matter what is actually going on inside of this house and what's happening to these people, you cannot be entirely certain due to having impaired perception, which is the very reason this family is suffering in the first place. Tom and Anne perceive Madison to just be playing dead for attention for what Anne said was 2 hours. Whoops, turned out their take on that entire situation was wrong. Tom perceived it wise to leave the baby with Grandma, who instantly put her on the ground and let her escape into the woods. Jackson, the birthday boy, has a mattress with no bed sheets and appears to be the only person in the house experiencing that particular kind of neglect. And from the clues we do have to work with, we can see that some of these characters are convinced they already have or are going to catch a disease that does not exist. In order to protect themselves from it or cure themselves if they believe they're already afflicted, they buy into the horse apples and not only symbolically eat garbage in the belief it can save them, but fall for the symptoms as soon as they read about them from what seems to be a knowledgeable source of information. And the more intelligent of the married couple seems to be especially concerned about a fake disease, which means if even the smart one is being played, there's no hope for anyone. And the saddest part is, this isn't even really about Link's disease itself. It's about Tom and Anne's own struggles to cope with their personal ailments, whether real or imagined. You wouldn't know this about Anne from what we've covered, but she has a very strong hang-up about characters dying in books that she reads. She has a catchphrase of, "A character in my book just died," which is usually followed up by sobbing, or some form of statement where you know she's on the verge of tears. As for Tom, we know for a fact that the man has issues. He seems to idolize a cartoon character he wishes he could be, as well as wanting to be his son and have a shot at life again. There's more evidence to the struggle of these characters in the full video collection from the website, but you don't have to go too far to know that these two don't have it all together. Each person in the house has their own version of Clay, which they use to fight off their own personal diseases, which, again, they may not have. It may just be about their perception. It's all about perception. The concept of perception actually works better as the true meaning behind the short film as a solo piece. Your scope of vision and information is so small, you're left trying to apply reasoning to madness, just like Tom, Anne, and Dennis. I think this is why the bit of dialogue about the tomatoes was placed in the short, because it leaves Tom questioning the madness of burying trash and growing baked tomatoes. In the same span of time, we're introduced to a situation we know nothing about through means that are inherently perplexing and immediately raises questions, only to witness a scene that at first seems ridiculous with Madison on the floor, but then grows into a horrifying example of having no idea what's happening. The film then continues to beat you over the head with the idea that you truly have no idea at all what you're seeing or why. Throw in all the extra frames that don't appear to have any connection to the source footage, and you've really got a case of narrow perception blinding you. And if you examine the larger work as a whole, but never find that episode of the Sculptor's Clayground or crack open the archives, the perception concept works even better. You're presented with an even bigger case of insane things you can't make any sense of. These people all appear to be crazy, and none of them see how insane another family member may be. It's only once you go the full distance, cracking the archives, finding all the hidden bits and pieces, and studying them, that you can get a more coherent picture to form. And even then, we're missing important information. Facts are withheld, just like in the case of the mysterious disease people in this house perceive themselves to have. And there you have it. This House Has People in It is a multi-layered project that evolves in meaning with each new layer you uncover. The stereotypical art project answer, "What do you think it means?" actually is the very topic at play here due to the theme of perception. Trying to make sense out of what you perceive to be madness is the idea, and the more information you get, be it correct information or false information, is going to warp your perception as you attempt to link things together in terms of cause and effect. Just like people who relate home remedies to the curing of fatal diseases, and just like people who relate symptoms of benign illnesses, like a slight headache, to something much more horrifying they can easily convince themselves they have, like Link's disease. What you observe and the meaning you get from it is going to inform your judgment of someone who you think may be crazy. That's the secret of this project, based on the entire idea of seeing and studying people as a spy. The less you see, the less info you actually have, the more it's going to blind you. And what you do see may be garbage, and you don't want to be eating garbage along with these other delusional people. So, that being said, it's time to approach what I perceive to actually be going on here, with all of the clues in place and what I've personally determined that they mean in my eyes. As we know, this is a household that is constantly threatened by the idea of Lynx disease. Anne may not have it, which her doctor assured her of, but according to the logs, Madison actually does. Subject 3 also diagnosed with Lynx disease on 7/18/2014, less than a year before the event we saw on Jackson's birthday. Was she actually diagnosed by a real doctor? We don't know. Again, missing information means context is up in the air. She might have read the newsletter claiming it had a test as good as a doctor's diagnosis. She may actually have been to the doctor and the result was talked about at home, or the person keeping these logs diagnosed her. Notice how it says also though? In the logs, most of our subjects are seen performing odd face-touching rituals, beginning with Dennis the repairman. It may be that Dennis has brought Lynx disease into the household, which is very possible because from the way I see it, the visual performance art method for this project required building a setting where a reality distortion field is at play. Lynx disease, in my eyes, does not actually exist. It's an imaginary disease, an idea with constantly changing contraction methods and symptoms. The only thing that's truly infectious about it is that once you hear about the disease, you become open to catching it. This disease is a meme. If you hear it or see it, you know it, and now it's in your head whether you like it or not. The reality distortion field is literal, based on the belief of Lynx disease in the home, because yes, it is literally in their home. The pink person is the disease in physical form due to the belief and fear of it in the household. According to how you see it, if you believe Lynx disease is really real, the pink person may actually be a neighbor destroyed by the disease who is now living in their home, but with all of the metaphors and performance work at play, I think it's the very fear of Lynx itself. Why do I think this? We've got a few clues to tell us. First, close-ups of this creature reveal that the gown it's wearing is, again, made of bed sheets. A child's bed sheet to be exact, the kind you would usually put on a boy's bed. This is where Jackson's bedsheet disappeared. The disease has been wearing it. Now, why is it pink or red depending how you look at it? During the intro for the Sculptor's Clayground show, we see a quick animation of a paintbrush trailing red paint down the sculptor's body. The word on that paintbrush? Lynx. You may have also noticed that the baby is wearing a bright pink hat. Kind of odd to put on a baby's head while she's indoors, right? The creature also uses the lawnmower at night, and when Tom comes out to use it later, it's stuck to the ground, just like Madison will be later. Who has apparently been diagnosed with Lynx disease prior to this? Madison. And finally, in almost all of the images where we see the horrible pink thing, it's inside of Tom and Anne's bedroom. While Dennis comes in to tell them about his day of repairs in the house while they sleep, we can see it moving in the reflection of the table in the bottom left corner. In a quick frame shot during another video, we can see it leaning over Tom in his sleep. And outside of the lawnmower video, we see the pink thing moving around inside of Tom and Anne's bedroom in the remaining videos from the Warneman room on the site. My thought is that the pink creature is the very fear that Tom and Anne have of Lynx disease taking their children. It's always in their bedroom, especially while they sleep. It wears Jackson's bedsheets, and it's the same color as their newborn baby's hat. The disease touches the lawnmower for its very first action in the timeline, and then Tom suddenly can't pick it up. He leaves it alone, confused but otherwise okay. Later, when the same thing happens to Madison, his own stepdaughter, he panics and we see the disease emerging from its hiding place in the garage. Now that it's actually done something major to a family member other than himself, who Tom can't trust as a professional, the disease has become very real. It's removing itself from the space in a house where all the extra garbage and unused items go. If a house is a brain, this would be the back of your mind. From here on out, it lives inside of Tom and Anne's bedroom, which is their personal thought space. It's always on their minds, and they're afraid for their children. The moment Lynx disease was introduced into this house as an idea, it grew in power, and this is a house where fears about false diseases and ideas about magical healing through eating garbage grow. Tom is especially vulnerable to gullible ideas and thought patterns. He obviously wants to be a fast, cool cat like Boomy, his son's idol. He aspires to be Boomy, so he straps on a costume and eats clay just like a South African. He's referenced as Subject 9 in the logs because he's not quite himself when he does this. He's Boomy the cat. He's become his own delusional ideas manifested in a house where this actually happens, and he's so wrapped up in the need to eat Clay that he'll dig through the garbage to get it, trying to rid himself of impurities and imperfections. Horse apples, Clay, boomy costumes, pretending to be his own son. No matter what, Tom is going to symbolically eat the garbage he's convinced can help him out of a vain attempt at curing his own personal disease. And I don't fully blame him for giving into garbage, because I'm pretty sure this is a manipulated household as part of a test on human behavior. From the Sculptor's Clayground show to the newsletters, all under the eyes of a really seedy surveillance company labeling family members as subjects, this feels like a test on how to mold people like Clay. There's a real distorted sense of reality in this house where insane and unexplainable things can happen, and then they're somehow brushed off. All of this is balanced on the idea of Link's disease being introduced to the family, through the TV, through the newsletters, and then through horrible, irrational things happening in their house that they must link to Link's disease, almost all of which can be read about in the Linksters newsletter. The event in the main video speaks as a kind of metaphor about perceiving things wrong when it comes to illness. Madison's been lying on the floor for about 2 hours, and Anne didn't do enough about it. Even when Tom is in the kitchen, it takes him a while to do something about this, and by then, it's too late. I believe this may have been an event Madison brought about by her own belief in Link's disease, and the reality distortion in the household allowed it to happen. Madison does come back later in future videos, and it's worth noting that the screaming we hear after she apparently disappears in the main video doesn't line up with Anne's original scream. It sounds a lot like her scream was cut off, and another clip of she and Tom yelling was placed immediately after. We saw Madison land, and then we saw the mattress. I think this is video manipulation at work, again feeding into the idea of broken perception. We're led to believe Madison phased right through the mattress and into oblivion, but she definitely comes back later, and we have the image of her laying on the mattress. Why is the party group outside all face down on the ground after this? Communication of the event inside would lead to a spread of the idea of Link's disease, which would create more believers. This is an idea that also comes up when a little girl from this group earlier in the timeline visits the house and becomes Subject 27. She came close enough to the madhouse, and this madness is infectious. Now she's got the disease too. These are all my thoughts on the project for This House Has People in It. I do believe that disease is an intended theme. I do believe that observations are an intended theme. And I really believe that being misled is also an intended theme. However, my perception of the reality of this house and the meaning behind what goes on may differ greatly from yours. The information is out there for you to collect. This is one of the few art projects where the answer literally is, the conclusion is yours to draw. I believe the house is a manipulated environment where an outside group is testing the power of an idea, and that idea is an imaginary disease. They use A/B surveillance to keep tabs on their test family, and they try to guide the experiment by using the newsletters and even audio to achieve their ends, like in the instance of Tom in the hallway. He mentions hearing odd noises in a recorded phone call as well while he's outside. There seem to be touches of manipulation all over this house. This House Has People in It is a monster. It's a huge experience, and there is so much to think about and analyze and watch and listen to over and over again looking for meaning. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This one put me through the ringer. It's not as cut and dry as unedited footage of a bear, and even that short film had room for wider interpretation. This house, though? The amount of layers, topics, and ideas you can extract from this house are far and wide. It's all in the way that you perceive it. That's why I've titled this video, Explaining This House Has People in It, instead of marking it Explained. I feel that you can get about 70 to 80% close to the artist's actual intentions on this one if you study hard enough. But only Alan Resnick, Robbie Ratcliffe, and Dina Kelberman know for certain what their intention was. And even then, Dina admits that there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen messing with perception. With this project, we wanted to push that a little farther than with unedited footage by making all the extra video content, and we ended up each putting in so many little details that I don't think any of us know about all of them. We try as hard as we can to make sure everything fits together, but sometimes there's small errors, and those just end up getting scooped into the theories. As for now, I perceive myself grabbing some pills to deal with my headache and going to sleep for a week. This has been an investigation that wouldn't let me go since the 4 AM premiere of the short film, and I'm tired enough to mistake a Clay pizza for the real thing if you gave it to me. Let me know what your thoughts on this project are in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed my thoughts on This House Has People in It, and subscribe for more exploration of mysterious, dark, and horrifying media. Once more, thanks for joining me in the dark this evening. I'm Nick Nocturne, and like an imaginary disease you thought you cured, I'll be seeing you again real soon. Sleep tight.